Welcome to Magician Recaps Explains. 1963, in West Berlin, Napoleon solo Henry Cavill makes his way through Checkpoint Charlie from West to East Berlin, but notices a tracker has been placed in his bag, which implies he's being followed by a Russian top agent, Ilya Kuryakin. Later on, Solo goes to a chop shop garage where he meets Gabby Teller. Gabby's father is being forced to build an atom bomb for the Nazis. Solo's mission is to get her out of Berlin, so they can find her uncle, Rudy, and have him set up a meeting between her and her dad. As they make their way to the border, they're chased by Kuryakin, who turns out to be Solo's match. However, waiting on the other side of the wall is a CIA truck that shoots a zipline up to the roof where Solo and Gabby end up. They're able to zipline over the Berlin Wall. Kuryakin is right behind them, but the truck backs up, making slack in the line, and leaving Ilya on the other side of the wall. This is a flashback to Kuryakin's briefing on Solo. Solo came to Europe during the Second World War, but stayed there, and became a master art thief. He was eventually captured, but the CIA felt his skills were too good to be wasted in a prison, so they recruited him. So in the present, CIA specialist Sanders meets with Solo at a park. In the restroom, he lays out the mission. It's Ilya Kuryakin. They immediately start a fight, and Kuryakin overcomes Solo. The KGB director, Oleg, comes in and tells Curie, "Don't kill your partner on your first day." Solo then asks what that means. The CIA and KGB have struck a deal, and are sending Solo and Curry on a joint mission. They have to go to Rome, where Curry will pose as Gabby's fiancé, and Solo as an antiquities dealer. They believe a family business there that Gabby's uncle Rudy works for is a front. The business has been in Alexander's family, but actually his wife Victoria is the brains behind the operation. Solo triggers Curie's rage issues, but the Russian manages to keep them in check. Meanwhile, a man named Waverly checks into the hotel in Rome, right before Napoleon does. When Napoleon checks in, he notices a couple of guys who are clearly evil henchmen in the lobby. He has his bags brought to his room, but he takes off. On the streets of Rome, Curry and Gabby bond a little. Solo shows up and tells Curry that he's going to get mugged, to convince the bad guys that he's really a Russian architect, his cover, and not a super badass secret agent. His instructions are to be a dumb. Just get mugged, and don't fight back. The mugging happens, and even though the thugs take Curie's father's watch, and Gabby's engagement ring, and he manages to suppress his rage and submit, Solo pops up, and they all go back to the hotel. Solo and the hotel desk clerk drink champagne, and wind up in bed. Meanwhile, in the engaged couple room, Gabby chugs vodka, and tries to get Curry to dance with her. He won't, so she slaps him, and they start wrestling. As things were about to get interesting, she passes out and Curry tucks her into bed. In the morning, Solo discovers about a dozen monitoring bugs in his room. He goes to Curry's room and hands them to him, telling him that they're Russian-made. Curry also goes back in and comes back and hands Solo about a dozen bugs too, and says that they're American-made. Later on, Curry meets Gabby in front of the hotel and gives her a brand new engagement ring. Solo heads to a party that Victoria is throwing. On the way in, he literally bumps into Waverly, later revealed to have picked Waverly's pocket, and steals his invitation. Solo crashes the party and gets in a fight with security because he doesn't present an invitation. Victoria takes notice and Solo shows his invitation. He manages to lift her necklace and another woman's bracelet. Victoria asks how he got an invitation and who he is. He says his name is Davini and that he specializes in filling the gaps in people's collections. He gives her the bracelet and the necklace. Gabby and Curry are also at the party. Rudy disses Curry by wondering if Gabby is slumming it like a racehorse with a workhorse. Curry gets angry and goes into a bathroom, but three young Italian aristocrats prevent him from using the sink and tell him to use the ladies' washroom instead. He finally gives in to his anger and closes the door to rough them up. Alexander takes a keen liking to Gabby right away, and he asked her out, only for Curry to interrupt. Back at the hotel, Curry has locked himself in the bathroom, which he has turned into a dark room, and is developing film. His camera was able to pick up on radiation on clothing at the party. Therefore, Gabby's father must be near and working on that atomic bomb. Both Solo and Curry say that they'll sleep on this new information, but later, they both break into the company's factory in the middle of the night. While Curry is clearly the muscles between the two of them, Solo is more cunning, and manages to break into a large bank-style safe. It's empty, except for a centrifuge used for enhancing uranium. Solo thought that model of safe didn't have an alarm. Wrong, they escape by jumping out of a window and onto a boat. Solo asks if there's a way he can help, but Curry states it clearly that he can't help him in any way. So Solo falls off without Curry's knowledge, and swims to a dock where he finds a truck. Inside is the driver's dinner, which he casually eats while Curry gets chased in circles by guards on a well-armed boat. They blow up Curry's boat. Solo drives away but has second thoughts. He returns, crashes his truck onto the bad guy's boat, and then rescues a drowning Curry. Victoria sees that the safe has been opened and calls Solo's hotel room. No answer. Rudy calls Gabby and asks to apologize to Curry, but she says he's asleep. He then informed Gabby to set up a meeting for only the two of them, and hangs up. Victoria and her goons race to the hotel, but Solo and Curry get there first. They see her at the reception. She asked the receptionist to call but no response. She then asked for the keys to the room. Solo hurriedly rushed back inside. She opens the room only to find him coming from a washroom. She and Solo get it on in his room, 807, and she tells her guards to move away. The next morning, Curry awkwardly turns on a tracker that's on Gabby's garter belt, making lots of sexual tension there. Gabby then meets with her uncle and says that she knows her father is there and that he works for him. Rudy asks how she knows, but he didn't answer yet. Instead, Curry, who's monitoring from afar, starts running from dogs. Solo meets with Victoria. He pours himself a drink, but not knowing she's drugged it. He then wakes up strapped to an electric torture chair. Rudy is an evil Nazi scientist who keeps a scrapbook of all the horrific stuff he's done. He has a blank page just waiting for Solo. Fortunately, there's a short in the electric chair. Curry comes back to rescue Solo. He tells him to keep quiet. He rescues Solo and straps Rudy into the chair. He tells them that the warhead is already built. Curry and Solo step out of the room to debate what to do with Rudy. In the background, the short in the electric chair fixes itself, and Rudy gets electrocuted to the point of bursting in flames. Gabby is brought to an island, where her dad is working. She slaps him and tells him to finish the job. Alexander and Victoria seem happy with this. Meanwhile, Waverly, who turns out to be a member of the British intelligence, informs Solo and Curry about the situation. The Brits knew that it was only a matter of time before someone grabbed Gabby to try to get her dad to finish the atomic bomb. They assumed it would be the Nazis. They were surprised that it was the Russians and the Americans. So Gabby has been working undercover with the British this whole time. She gains the trust of the bad guys by telling them that Curry and Solo are secret agents. She knew that her new engagement ring would have a bug in it, and that Curry would be listening. Solo says that he thinks the British were working with her, but now that they've lost her, they need the American and the Russians' help. Curry and Solo are both told by their respective superiors to get the warhead and the disc with Professor Teller's research. Also, to kill the other if necessary. On the island, Gabby and her dad try to switch lenses on the warhead, but Victoria notices. There is also a second warhead. She orders Gabby be put in a cell and tells her father to finish with the threat of her death. He does, but Victoria takes his disc and the backup he had hidden, then shoots him. Time for a super stylized and ultra cool breaking-in montage as Solo and Curry storm the island. During it, Solo finds Curry's father's watch on a guard and grabs it. They find that Gabby and the warhead on the far side of the island in a jeep being driven by Alexander. Solo chases in a dune buggy, while Curry is on a motorcycle. The vehicles all crash. Alexander and Curry fight and Curry stabs him in the head with his knife. Turns out though, this is the wrong bomb. Victoria disappeared with the right one. Solo remembers that Alexander's family used a fishing boat to smuggle gold for the Nazis. He also remembers the name of the boat from an old childhood photo of Alexander. They radio the boat and Solo taunts Victoria about the way her husband died. They stay on the radio long enough for the good guys to track the boat. Turns out that the two lenses that were in the bombs make it so that one bomb can take out the other. They launch the decoy bomb and blow up Victoria, the atomic bomb, and the fishing boat. Gabby apologizes to Curry and returns the engagement ring. He tells her to keep it so that he can know if she ever needs him. Curry's boss tells him that the professor's disc wasn't destroyed but that Solo has it. Curry goes to his room. Solo pours drinks for the two of them. Curry sees the disc and is filling with rage. In attempt to engage in gun duel, Solo gives him his father's watch and reveals the disc. They both decide to destroy it. Waverly and Gabby show up. Waverly says that he's decided to keep the group together and that they have a new code name, U.N.C.L.E. United Network Command for Law and Enforcement. Over the end credits we see everyone's dossiers. In one little detail, Gabby is currently learning to speak Russian. That's all for this movie recap. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting movies. Share your thought in the comments section below. See you next time.